Hello everybody and welcome back to Craft Hour. If you haven't been with us before, my name is Allie and I'm an educator at the Boys and Girls Club of Fitchburg and Leominster. And today we're going to be doing paper mache. So this is one of my favorites from my childhood. It was a theme in our house that we would make something that was out of paper mache. So this is a super easy craft. You only need a couple materials. So it's great to do at home, or if it gets nice outside, it's a great craft to do outside too, so you don't make too much of a mess. So what we're going to be doing first is going over the materials that you need, and then I'm going to start the project. So you can pretty much make anything out of paper mache. You can make bowls, cups, you can make different sculptures. It's pretty much limited to your imagination. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mold for a hot air balloon. So we're going to make the hot air balloon part today, and then tomorrow we're going to attach the basket with string and a little cup. So this can be hung up in your room, or it could be just a little decoration. But I'm going to go over the materials you need first, and then we'll get started with the rest of it. So I am going to start with glue. So if you do not have glue, I have two other options that you can use for paper mache. So there's three options. The first one is with glue, and you can use pretty much any type of glue, but the measurements are going to be a little different depending on the type of glue that you have. So for Elmer's glue, you can use half Elmer's glue and half water. So as an example, I have my water here. I have it at 2 cups, so I have 2 cups water, so I'm going to add 2 cups of glue. If you want to go a little bit smaller than that, if you don't have a large project, you can pretty much do it any type of measurement. It's just 50-50. So if I did 1 cup of water, I'd do 1 cup of glue. So just making sure you're doing 50-50. You're also going to need water, like I mentioned here. So if you're using Elmer's glue, it's 50-50, but if you're using just a regular white glue or school glue or anything like that, it's going to be 3/4 cup of white glue to a 1/4 cup of water. And again, you can double or triple that depending on how many people are doing the project. The second option uses flour. So I'm going to be using glue today, but if you don't have glue on hand, you can use flour. So it would be 1 part flour to 5 parts water. So if you're using 1 cup of flour, it'd be 5 cups of water. So that's the measurement there. And there's 2 ways to do it. You can either boil it for about 3 minutes and let it cool down and then use it, or you can just stir them together and add in a little salt. So salt is important if you're using flour so that your mixture doesn't mold. So over time, the flour is going to start to mold a little bit. But if you add in a couple tablespoons of salt, then that prevents it from molding. But if you are not going to boil it, you will only want to use 1 part flour to 1 part water. Okay, I'm going to put all those measurements up at the end of the video so you can copy them down if you need to. But I'm going to start with glue. So I am going to grab some more water here and add in my glue. But the other thing that you're going to need for this particular project, you're going to need a balloon. The balloon is going to help you to make the hot air balloon shape. Also, if you're trying to make anything round, the balloon is the way to go. But keep in mind, if you're going to be putting paper mache over something, you need a place to either pop the balloon if you're using a balloon, or if you're making like a bowl, you want to make sure that you can pop it off of your mold. Just keep that in mind. So I wouldn't recommend trying to make a sculpture using one of your little miniature animals and use paper mache unless you don't want to have your miniature animal anymore, because it's going to be hard to get out of the paper mache at the end. The last thing you're going to need is you can use newspaper, you can use construction paper, you can use computer paper, or you can use, I have packing paper here, and it's white. Let me see if I can get a piece out here. So it's just regular packing paper. Again, you can use newspaper. You can pretty much use any type of paper that you have. Tissue paper, you're going to have to be really careful with, but you can still use it. It'd be more like a Mod Podge craft. But if you have tissue paper from leftover presents, you can use that too. You could technically use wrapping paper too if you wanted. So I'm going to use packing paper today. If you are using newspaper, you're going to want to use white paper with your last layer so it's easier to paint, because it takes a lot of layers to paint over the newspaper so you can't see it anymore. So I would recommend doing your last layer in either white paper, like computer paper or something like that, or if you have packing paper, this works too, or just scrap paper, that works as well. Just a layer on the top so that it's easier to paint. So I'm going to go grab the water and mix the glue together, and then we will start our paper mache. So as you can see, I've kind of laid down a little mat on my table, and this is just to speed up cleanup. So I would recommend if you have like extra paper or newspaper that you put that down over your workspace so that when you are working with your paper mache, you don't get it everywhere. But that's the good thing if you can work outside. You can just leave it outside. So what we're going to do is I have just used 1 cup of water to start with. I can always make more. And I'm going to pour in a cup of Elmer's glue. I think we should have enough in here. So we're just going to pour it up to the 2 cups line. We're looking pretty good. This is like the last bit of the container, but we should get it up to 2 cups. We're almost there. And again, if you don't have Elmer's glue, if you just have a different type of glue, you just have to remember that the measurements are a little bit different. So now that we have a cup of water and a cup of glue, I'm going to mix them together. And just wait until they're dissolved. And if it looks a little off, you can always add in a little more glue or add in a little less water. You're basically kind of diluting the glue a little bit so it goes a little longer of a way. So you're essentially making more of the glue for paper mache, adding a little bit of water. You're diluting it. Alright, so I think we're good here. Again, it's going to be a little liquidy. So again, you might want to set down a mat of some sort before you get started. And now what we're going to do is take a balloon. Mine are happy birthday balloons, but it doesn't really matter what type of balloon you have. And you're going to want to blow it up and tie it off. So you can make your hot air balloon pretty much as big as you can blow up the balloon. If you want to make a small one, if you want to make a large one, it's pretty much up to you and how big you can blow up the balloon that you have. Alright, here we go. When you first get it started, it's always the hardest. Make sure that you take breaks in between though. You don't want to get lightheaded. Alright, I think that is large enough, so I'm going to tie it off. So if you take your 2 fingers and then you push the end of the balloon through your 2 fingers, that's how you can tie it off. Careful though, because you don't want to cut off the circulation to your fingers. And we have our balloon. A little science fact here, our balloon is not going to float because we have blown it up with oxygen, or carbon dioxide technically. And when you think about it, the balloons at the store actually use helium, and that's why they float. So it's fun to bat around, but eventually it will go down to the ground because it is not filled with helium. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my balloon, and you want to grab your paper, whatever you're using, newspaper, construction paper, and you're going to want to basically rip it into little strips. If it ends up being little bits like this, that's okay too. It doesn't really matter. If you want to be precise, you can use scissors, but it's kind of just easier to rip it all apart. And you're going to want to do this before you start with your glue mixture, because once you have your glue mixture on your hands, it's really hard to rip the paper without getting it stuck on your hands. So we're just going to rip some pieces here. And for our paper mache, you never want to put more than 4 layers on at a time. If you need to add more layers after it's dry, you can do that, depending on how you like your project. But never more than 4 layers at a time, or it's going to have a really hard time drying. You're going to be waiting 3 or 4 days to finish your project. So it's just better to do a couple layers at a time. So we're just ripping our paper up here. So again, this is the fun part, just ripping up all the paper. And you can try and make it in strips, but I find that it's easier to do it in little sections. Just because if you have like a long strip like this, it's really hard to dunk it in your glue mixture. So it's just easier to make them into little pieces instead. Alright, so here's our start. What I want to show you is how to dunk it in the paper mache. So let's put the balloon up there maybe. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of paper, you are going to dunk it in your glue mixture, and then you're going to take 2 fingers, just like this, and you are going to take off all of the excess glue, just like this. So you're basically squeegeeing your piece of paper. So you want to do that so that there's not a ton of glue on your piece of paper, and that'll allow it to dry quicker if you don't have a ton of the glue mixture. And it also prolongs the life of your glue here. If you have a ton of glue on one piece of paper, it's not going to last as long compared to if you take off all the excess and then put it on your balloon. So I'm going to grab my balloon here, and you're going to want to either start on one end or start on the other end. You can also grab a cup if you want to set your balloon on your cup, and then you can work around it without having to hold it. But I'm going to try this way so that you can still see me. I am going to dip it in here. And then remember, take off all the excess glue. You might have to do it a couple times. And then you're going to lay it on your balloon and smooth it out. You don't want a ton of wrinkles, so you're just going to smooth it out over your balloon. And then you just keep going. So this is a fun, somewhat messy craft. But again, if you can do it outside, then just put on some play clothes and you're all set. If you're doing it inside, again, I recommend a tablecloth that you just want to throw away, or you can wash. So this is how we do paper mache. Again, I will post all those recipes up on after the video so that you have all of the measurements that you need. But this is a fairly simple craft. Whew. So all you have to do is dunk it in your mixture here. Make sure you get off all the excess glue. And layer it on. And remember, no more than 4 layers on your balloon at a time, or else it's going to take forever to dry. So I'm going to continue to place layers on my balloon. and then we're going to have to let it dry. And then tomorrow, I'll be able to show you what it looks like after it's dry, and we will be able to decorate it. So I'm going to continue this. We're going to let it dry, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Craft Hour. So it's been the next couple of days after we filmed the first part of the paper mache. I had to let it dry. Took a little longer to dry than I thought it would, just because it was a little colder outside. But it's finally dry. It took about 2 days to dry completely. So keep that in mind. If your house is a little cooler, then it's going to take a little longer to dry. But we are back, and we are going to now paint our hot air balloon. So I have 2 different colors here, and then we're also going to add in the attachments to show that it's a hot air balloon. So what we're going to need, you're going to need a little cup, and that's going to be the little basket. So you can decorate it however you'd like. If you have a little plastic cup, or this is a paper cup, you can always cover it in paper, make a cool design, make a little weave design so that it looks like a basket. Up to you, but you're going to need a little cup, and then you're also going to need string. Okay, and you're also going to need some paint brushes, and a cup of water if you're going to change colors. So we're going to get started. I'm going to grab the paper mache balloon, and I will show you how to paint it and attach the basket. So this is the paper mache balloon. As you can see, it held its shape. I took the balloon out already, but when you are ready to take out the balloon, all you do is put a little hole in the balloon, and then it should deflate enough that you can just pull it out. If it gets stuck, just shake it out of the bottom. But what we're going to do here is we're going to cut out the bottom just a little bit so that it gives it more of that hot air balloon look. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors, and I'm going to gently, you got to remember that you can't push too much on your paper mache or it will collapse, especially if you only put the 4 layers on it. You got to be very gentle. So I'm going to just cut a little bit off the end, just so we'll be able to attach our basket. So I'm just going to peel back our layer here. And it should cut fairly easily. But I'm just going to make the hole at the bottom a little bit bigger. So just cutting around here, being super careful that I don't push too much on the hot air balloon. Alright, so I just made the hole a little bit bigger. And now what I'm going to do is, before I paint it, because I want to show you what it's going to look like, I'm going to attach the basket, just because it's going to be hard to do once I paint the whole hot air balloon. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your string, and you're going to cut off a little bit of string, and you're going to take your cup, and you are going to make 4 holes in the side of your cup. So right on the side here. Again, just be super careful because you are using scissors, but just make 4 holes about the same distance apart around the cup. If you have a skewer, you could always use that to make the holes. Hole punch works too. So last hole here. Alright, so I made 4 holes around the cup, And I'm just going to tie one end of the string, so I'm going to push it through the hole, and then tie the end of the string to the cup. So just making 2-3 knots at the bottom, so it's attached. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing around the entire cup. So I'm going to cut some yarn, and you can use string, you can use pipe cleaners, you could cut rubber bands in half if you wanted to do that. Pretty much anything that will attach to your cup. Alright, so I have the rest of my string. Let me set my balloon up here so you can see. So I'm just pushing the string through the hole and tying it to the basket or the little cup. So you just do 2 to 3 knots just to make sure that it stays. Alright, so there's 2. We'll get the third one in here. So here's 3. Tying it twice. And then we'll add in the last one. So almost done here. And then what you can do is attach it to your balloon. So you're going to basically do the exact same thing, only on the balloon. So I have my 4 strings here, and what you can do at this point is you can make them all even so that the basket hangs evenly. And then you're going to take your paper mache here, and again, you got to be super careful that you don't push too much. And if you need a parent or guardian to help you with this step, probably maybe a little easier. So just putting 4 holes at the bottom where you made your hole here. Make another one here. And one last one over here. Perfect. Careful with the scissors. And then we are going to attach our balloon, or our basket to our balloon. So we'll start our first one here. And you're just going to put it through the hole that you made. And tie it off. And again, once you tie it a couple times, you can always cut off the little extra string that's hanging. But there's one, and we'll do the next one. Again, be super careful that you don't push too much on the balloon. You don't want to break it before you even get to paint it. So here's our second string. Push it through the hole. And again, if you have like a toothpick or something like that to help you get the string through, that's always a good idea if you're having trouble getting the string through the hole. Oh, I tied it on backwards. Trying to get this string off here. So I'm going to continue to put the string through the holes in the hot air balloon, and then I will show you how you can paint it. Again, you can really paint it any color you'd like and any design that you like. There's so many different types of or designs for a hot air balloon. So you can really use your imagination and design it however you'd like. But I'll show you the traditional way, so like the little stripes that go down the balloon. So I'm going to continue to tie on my string, hopefully in the right order this time, and then I will come back and show you the design for painting. gasket is on the bottom. And if you want to hang your hot air balloon, again, you can either do this before or after you paint. You can attach a string to the top of your hot air balloon, and that way you can hang it, and might be a good idea to put it on before you do the paint so that you can hang it up and wait for it to dry. So there's my cat's interested because there's string on the table. So I'm going to attach my string as well. So come on, Chewbacca. And then I'm going to start painting. Chewbacca, nobody can see if you're on the table. Thank you. And then I'm going to start painting. So I have purple and white here, and I'm just going to do some stripes down the sides of the balloon. But let's add in the string so that we can hang it up afterwards. So just need a little bit of string, and you could either hot glue it to the top or glue it to the top, or you could put another little hole in the top of the balloon and then just put the string through that. So we're going to try and be very gentle here. Again, be super careful with the scissors. Just be super careful that you don't put too much pressure on the balloon. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is, it's a super easy way to just make a loop. So you're just going to tie the two ends together. So make a knot, and we'll probably do one more knot so that we don't go through the hole in the top of the balloon. Again, you can make a couple, depending on how large the hole is you put in the top of the balloon. Or again, you can just glue this to the top, and that works as well. Alright, so then what we're going to do is take our string, our loop here, and push it through the hole in the top of the balloon. Again, this is a little tricky because sometimes you can't see what you're doing, but just do your best and be really careful. And there we go. So now we have a loop, and we can hang the hot air balloon. Alright, so on to painting. So we're going to make sure that Chewbacca doesn't get into the paint. We don't want a purple cat. And what you're going to do is you can either draw out how you'd like it, but basically they're little diamond shapes along the balloon. So you're going to go down and then back up. But instead of a diamond, how the edges are pointed, you're just going to round it out a little bit. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So we'll start with purple. And I'm just going to paint up the balloon. And you have your little hook at the top for a reference, so you know where the top is. And we're just going to make another one. So see how it's kind of like a rounded shape? It's kind of like a diamond. Instead of pointed though, we're going to round the edges out. So I'm going to keep painting. Oh. Everybody's excited for craft hour. So I'm just going to paint this purple spot here. And then the next spot will be white. So again, I could always leave that spot the color of the paper if I wanted. But because it's dried, it's a little off-white. So if you want it, again, you can do rainbow colors. You could do a different pattern. There are so many different hot air balloon designs that you could really do whatever you like. These are the two colors that I had on hand, so that's why I'm using purple and white, but you can use whatever colors you'd like and whatever design you'd like as well. Alright, so I'm going to move on to my second spot here, and I'm just going to paint this section white. And you just keep going around the balloon. So if you had 3 colors, you would alternate them. 4 colors, same thing. But I've seen balloons with so many different patterns, so you can really get creative here and do it however you'd like. So I'm going to continue to paint the hot air balloon, and I will show you the end result. So here's the finished product. As you can see, there are some cool stripes down the middle, but again, you can make whatever design you'd like. And you can pretty much use whatever paint you'd like as well. You may have to use a couple layers depending on the type of paint, but it should work because again, it's just paper and glue. So there's our finished product. I'm going to hang that up to let it dry. But before I do, I want to make sure that I tell you a little bit about what is going on next craft hour. So next craft hour, we're going to be making puffy paint, so paint that puffs up. And we're also going to be making sidewalk chalk, so tune in next time. But remember to comment down below with pictures of your finished hot air balloon. I'd love to see them all. And also ideas for the next few craft hour videos. And also comment down below if you've ever taken a ride in a hot air balloon. That's a fun story to tell as well. So thank you for joining me for Craft Hour. We finally finished our hot air balloon, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.